your morning newspaper, or you check the internet on your BlackBerry or iPhone, and what do you see? Oil leaks in the Gulf of Mexico. Foreclosure rates through the roof. Things are just not going well on the American inland. But yet, we're off policing the world, taking care of business in Iraq, Afghanistan, the Middle East. Because, you know, their problems for some reason come before our problems. We have to stop being world police. We have our own issues to address. We are not the stable, invincible government we once were. Things are not going the way they used to. First, I'm going to discuss our failures overseas and our failures as world police. Then I'm going to discuss the domestic issues we need to take and the issues that we need to address before we get involved overseas. Firstly, as of March 20th, 2003, we invaded Iraq. Since then, we've lost 4,395 men, women, and teenagers to death. This is someone's brother, sister, mother, father. This doesn't even count the 10,000s of injuries, as well as the 10,000s of civilians who have died in Iraq. The reasons why we invaded were their so-called nuclear weapons. Well, we do nuclear weapon tests all the time. We overfly North Korea, Iran, Pakistan, and we can sense if they have radiation. For some reason, we didn't do these tests with Iraq. We just invaded because they had nuclear weapons. It was obvious. I don't think it was so obvious. What about Iraq being a viable threat? Let's be honest. Iraq's army can't hold a candle to our army. Iraq's Air Force can't fight with our Air Force. And Iraq's Navy can't even play in the same field as our Navy. Matt, what about the humanitarian crisis? They're killing innocent civilians. No, that was in the 1980s. Oh, and by the way, in the 1980s, we supplied Saddam Hussein with weapons when he went to war with Iran. And then lastly, the oil argument. As Dave O'Reilly, the CEO of Chevron, points out, since we invaded Iraq, oil markets have become more unstable. Iraq has become more unstable, and the price of oil has been utterly unpredictable. Secondly, our involvement in the Middle East. The United States has not really solved anything. It started with Truman in 1950, 2 years after Israel became a state, with the Tripartite Declaration, which said that the United States, France, and England were not going to intervene with Israel and Arab conflict. Then the Soviets stepped in, started supplying the Arabs with weapons in surrounding countries around Israel. The United States started to supply Israel. Blatant violation of the Tripartite Declaration. Jimmy Carter tried to sign the Camp David Accords with Anwar Sadat, who was eventually assassinated after signing the Camp David Accords. What about the famous handshake between Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat, Bill Clinton standing behind them as if he just saved the world? Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated about a month later. Recently, as recent as actually December 2008, after 300 straight days of rockets being shot into Israel, Israel invaded the Gaza Strip. The Israelis were there for 3 weeks, and since they pulled out January 18, 2009, tensions have been quelled. It's been more peaceful than ever, and I don't think that had anything to do with the American involvement. Because of these interventions overseas, there's a growing distaste. There's a growing distaste for Americans. Muslims make up 20% of the world. That's about 1.5 billion people. Most of the Muslims in Europe happen to hate America. Let's just say 50%. That's 750 million right off the bat who hate America. That's more than double our population who hates us. We're just talking Muslims. That's ridiculous. The reasons why they hate us is our ego. Oh, stuck-up Americans. We see it in books, we see it in movies, we see it in magazines. These Americans, they think they're so great. These Americans this, these Americans that. It's also our hypocrisy. If China flew a plane 70 miles off the coast of Florida to gather intelligence, we would freak out as if they just violated some sort of hidden code. We do these flights 200 times a year. What about the growing distaste among the French, Brazil, and Germany? These are our allies. They have 17%, 18%, 20% respectively. Their approval of America has dropped. On this bottom is a graphic that's hard to read, but these are the top 4 countries that are a threat to world peace. Israel, right in the heart of the Middle East, Iran, North Korea, the United States. We're 4th likely to cause some sort of big war, disrupt the peace of the United States. Domestic issues at hand that we need to take care of. Our economy, as we all know, is terrible. Foreclosure, 1 out of every 352 homes is being foreclosed. The unemployment rate is at 9.7%. These statistics are both reported by the Bureau of Labor, by the government. This is terrible. This is laughable. What about education? Just the other week we had the New Jersey student walkouts, because of budget cuts. Why are we spending money overseas when we can be spending money on education? The first thing George Bush did when he entered office was sign the No Child Left Behind policy. Let's make that a reality, not just a dream. Research and development. President Obama has pledged that he's going to raise the percent of GDP to research and development to 3%. This might not be enough. This is one way where we can get ahead. If we continue to use our resources and use our brains to research and come up with new technologies, we can come out of this economic collapse and be the leader the world needs by example, not by intervention. And I'm not saying we shouldn't intervene in Haiti or Chile where they've been devastated by earthquake. I'm not against philanthropy. I'm against stupidity. We can't intervene overseas where we're not wanted. It's unfair. President Washington stressed in his farewell address to the United States of America as the first president that politically never get involved. Economically, okay. And I think our founding fathers were pretty smart. So as John F. Kennedy once said, ask not what you can do for your country, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I'll tell you what you can do. You can get involved with education. You, research and technology, and all of you can make sure the United States stays out of international affairs and gets to work on the domestic problems. Thank you.